Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Luminary Panel, the entrepreneurial podcast where we fuel minds with insights and inspirations. My name is Liliana Fidowa, and I'm so excited to introduce Kay Rawlins, a compassionate leader known for her dedication to fostering relationships and community well-being. Kay is the founder of Orlando Pride and serves as the Senior Vice President of Community Relations and President of the Orlando City Foundation. She also founded Stargazer's Nursery and has spent 9 years in banking at National Westminster. Her passion for giving back is evident through her roles on multiple boards, including the Canon Kids Cancer Foundation, Central Florida Foundation, Four Roots, and the Florida Sports Foundation. Kay's journey of leadership and service has left an inevitable mark on Central Florida, and today we're excited to explore her experiences and insights in today's episode of the Luminary Panel. Shout out to one of our sponsors, Zico Space and Clubhouse. As you guys know, we did the Luminary Panel Season 1 on Zoom, and so we were looking for a podcast studio to film. And now here I am in Zico Space and Clubhouse, and here they have multiple rooms, one being the lounge, a conference room, and a podcast studio. They serve many different beverages, including tea, coffee, and kava, and their main mission is to be a place where people can come together and work together. So if you can, stop by. It's right outside of downtown Orlando, and it's a great place to work and meet others. Hope you try it.
It's early in the morning. I'm with Miss Kay Rawlins, and her story is incredible. We met a couple months ago, or actually almost a year ago.
Is it that long? Wow.
Yes. I remember when we were building this, I was like, hey, this is what I got going on. You were the first person I kind of got in contact. I don't even know how we got in contact. Probably LinkedIn, but she's one of the most unassuming, humblest women I've ever met, especially in the space that she's in. We're going to go into a conversation about a lot of things that may resonate with some of the young ladies that's watching or some of the young women that are watching. So I'm excited to get into it. So Miss Kay, welcome to the Luminary Panel.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Sorry about my croaky voice. I promise it's not from yelling at people.
Okay, good, good. Because I know those games can be intense.
I do yell at the games.
Good. So let's start from where you started. Like, who is Miss Kay?
Okay. Obviously grew up in England.
Nice.
I'm one of 5 children. So noisy, boisterous household. I was the sporty one of the family. So I represented my school in track. So I did 100 meters, 200 meters. I played field hockey. I played tennis. I swam. Everything except soccer, which is kind of funny, which is where my life is really focused now. But at that time in the UK, girls didn't really play. So I'm loving seeing how it's progressing over there now.
Yeah.
Bit of a rebel at school, so left school at 17, went to work in a bank.
Wow.
Did 10 years there. I really enjoyed myself. It was in a time before all the automation that we had now. So every branch of the bank would have 50 to 70 people, all in their kind of most in their 20s. A lot of fun social life for sure. Then got married, had 2 kids, and I felt very fortunate to stay home. I then found I had a real talent for education, especially at that young age. Volunteered in a preschool that turned into one morning that turned into 2, that turned into the owner of the preschool saying, I want to retire. I think you'd be a great person to take over.
Wow.
If you go to college, I'll pay.
Oh.
So finally, at age 31, with 2 kids and a job, I went to college. Did 2 degrees, business management and early childhood education. Ended up owning that preschool, opening a second one, which is still going 20-something years later. I can't even tell you.
Really? You still own the space?
I don't own it, but it's still running.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I know. It's
That's
just really
awesome.
cool. Then met up with, my marriage was going through some issues. I met up with an ex-high school sweetheart,
Oh.
who obviously from the same town as me, who'd moved to America, run a hugely successful business that he'd sold for a lot of money, and he'd bought a share in our hometown soccer team in England, Stoke City. So we met, realized there was still something going on there, had a year of transatlantic, how is this even going to work? Because he was living in America, I was living in England. So I sold my business and we took that leap. So he got a job offer in Austin, in Texas. So I moved 5,000 miles.
Wow.
Yeah, it was definitely a culture shock.
For sure.
England to Texas.
Yeah. So before we move forward in your story, there's a couple of things I want to ask you and unpack about the story, because I'm seeing some patterns, some things that I don't know if you realize you were in this space, but I'm going to ask anyway. So going back to when you started, or when the preschool teacher was like, hey, I'm looking to retire, and if you go to school, I'll give you the business. Can you touch on the concept, the idea of being available for new opportunities so that you won't miss the opportunity that's supposed to be for you?
Yeah, and I think when I do reflect back, that's been a pattern in my life of being open always to what is out there.
Yeah.
And not being kind of in that mindset of, well, I got a job and it's a good job, and I'm not happy, but it's bringing in money, it's paying my mortgage, whatever that is. That's never really applied to me, I don't think. And I don't know if some of that, I always go back to the sport thing. I'm the only one out of the 5 who ever was into the sport, and I'm the only one of the 5 who's ever had their own business. So I feel like there's a little bit of a correlation there too.
Yeah.
Around risk taking, around, going out of your comfort zone, but also having that grit and determination. I think there's a lot of correlation there.
I agree, yeah.
And so when that opportunity came, instead of thinking, oh, wow, that sounds, like scary, I was like, this is great. What a great opportunity.
Yeah.
And I often get asked to talk to people about, taking those chances when they come along, even going to college. I could have thought at 31, yikes, I'm going to be the oldest in the class. And, it never even... I don't really remember hesitating. I just looked at it and thought, this is great. Like, this is something I would love to do.
Yeah.
Found another partner who wanted to buy the business with me.
Nice.
Who then subsequently bought it back, bought my share. But yeah, there's definitely some correlations there around seizing opportunities when they come along.
Yeah.
For sure.
So let's talk about the perspective around that, because I think people hear, oh, take the risk, and it's kind of like one of those hot air balloon things, if that makes sense. It's like just up in the air. I know to take risks, but I'm one of those people that's like, okay, take risks, but how do I do that? Like, what perspective do I need to have as an entrepreneur or aspiring entrepreneur when it has to come with risk? Like, what has to be the burning desire for me to want to take the risk?
I think for me, it's always been look at the worst case scenario. And if you can live with that, then go for it. Because if you can look at it and go, well, if this doesn't work, I have this to fall back on, or, I'm not going to, lose my whole world if this happens, then it's absolutely worth doing.
Yeah.
But I would also say, I feel I've been very fortunate. I've had amazing people around me who, and don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for all the advice in the world before you do something. There's no shame in that. Absolutely not. Talk to other people who may have even gone through what you've gone through. How did they do it? So I think just building your support system, your network, your people, your tribe, whatever the words people use to describe them. But I certainly felt I had support, for especially that initial leap into being the nursery owner. That I felt like I had so much support around me to do it.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome. So let's talk about the people around you, because I think that's very prominent to your success or your failure. At the Luminary Panel, our mission is to become an immediate resource to you as the aspiring entrepreneur. With that being said, we've partnered with SCG Shama Consultant Group, the business development one-stop shop. They have everything you need as far as marketing, benchmarking, and so much more, so that we, as the Luminary Panel and SCG, can help you thrive in your business. What about the people that you had in your life that helped you, become more successful, rather than you trying to do it on your own and having the wrong people in your life that might have made you, fail?
I think one of the biggest influencers in my life was the lady who owned the preschool. So took my kids there, then started working there part-time. And as I say, she's the one who encouraged me to then go back to school at 31 and do degrees. But I learned a lot from her about and what I think my leadership style is like too. I'm very much an enabler. I'm very much a hands-off. I am not the micromanager in any way, shape, or form. And she used to do this thing every week with all of us who worked in the preschool. So she would set aside a 15 to 20 minute one-on-one safe space where you could bring up things that you wanted to talk to her about. She could bring up things that she wanted to talk to you about. And it's where I first learned the positive sandwich. So
what is that?
Yeah, so it actually works great.
You can't eat it, right?
No, sadly. So she would start off talking to you, and she'd give you a very specific example as well, which again, as a mother of children, if you're praising kids, be very specific. Don't just say, oh, you were really good today. Say, I saw you do this, and be very specific. So she would say, I saw how you greeted a parent this morning, that was obviously having some anxiety about leaving their child. You were kind and patient and listened. Then she would tell you something that probably she didn't like so much. So maybe it would be, I saw the display you put on the wall, but there weren't enough photographs or whatever. And then she'd finish with something else that you'd done really well. So you go out of her office and you'd think, wait a minute, I think she just told me off about something. But it feels okay because she gave you two things that you were doing well. Yeah. And it's such a great way to give feedback. It's, it's so constructive, and it takes away those, kind of, what? I didn't do that. Yeah. It's just a really thoughtful way of dealing with people. Yeah. And I definitely took that on board and with me as I became the owner and then had a whole bunch of staff that I had to manage. It was definitely one of the tactics I took with me.
Yeah. So let's fast forward from preschool all the way up until you got to, I know you had the Austin location or, team, the club. Then you transferred to Orlando City. Let's talk about that process, because when I first met you, you were telling me about the whole thing where they didn't believe in you guys and they thought you guys were just going to be a minor league team, and you guys made some significant changes to you, like, yo, we're here. Like, this is the stories that pump me up. Like, yesterday I was watching this movie called Air, and it's like the the backstory behind how Nike got Michael Jordan.
Okay.
And basically, the guy that was, yeah, you'll love it, especially as an entrepreneur. It gets your brains turning. So they were telling the guy that no, Michael Jordan's not gonna come for us because he had Adidas, Converse, and at that time, those were the prominent, and Nike's basketball program was going down. And long story short, he's like, "Yo, just get me in the room." Just give me a conversation. He ended up breaking the rules. He ended up meeting his parents at their house when they're not. I'm spoiler alerting.
Don't tell me anymore because I definitely want to watch it.
You'll love it. But
I will.
I say all that to say, like, especially in where you were in that time frame, it just pumps me up. So I'm sure it'll pump somebody up too.
And it's another thing that I do a lot of speaking engagements, and I always want to know what message. And sometimes it's to girls, about it's never too late to change careers, never too late to go to college, whatever those messages are. But I think this one is about never giving up. And so in Austin, we had 3 years there of basically bashing your head against a wall is the only way I can describe that feeling. With no government help, no local help, no media. We weren't getting crowds at the games. We were playing in a succession of high school football stadiums.
What?
Yeah, couldn't sell alcohol. So it was a great idea, but it was wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah.
Literally. Because Austin now have a team in MLS. Matthew McConaughey is involved in it. I don't know where he was when we were there, but hey, Matthew. I won't take it personally. But I think the story is that we believed in what we had.
Yeah.
We knew that we could do it. We were just in the wrong place. So we started looking around for, somewhere else. So we went back to USL, the minor league, and said, it's not working in Austin. We're done. And they said, well, you look at some other places. And Orlando was on that list, which I was a little dubious about. Let's just put it that way. As a Brit, all you know is the theme parks, quite honestly. You don't understand that there's this amazing, thriving community that live here.
Yeah.
So we, again, took a chance and said, we think this is where it's going to work. There's only one major league team here already. And I think part of the several things to this. Number one, we decided go big or go home. So we're going to be minor league, but we said at the very first press conference, we are going to be major league. We're going to do it, and we're going to do it in 5 years.
I love that.
And you'll know, put a target out there in the universe, make yourself accountable. You have something then to strive towards. There's a goal.
Yeah.
A very significant one. And I think we went about it a little bit differently, but what happened very quickly was the mayor of Orlando, Buddy Dyer, said, we want a team here. We're all in. What do you need?
Yeah.
And again, it's all about that support system.
Yeah.
And he brought this whole support system to the table, who said, we want a team here. We're going to help you. We're going to be your advocates out in the community. Yeah. And these were big players who got us noticed. And so by 2013, so we had to play in the Citrus Bowl, Camping World Stadium, which is a gigantic stadium, especially for a minor league team. Yeah. But we kept winning. And eventually in 2013, we managed to persuade the commissioner from Major League Soccer to come visit. And we said, we promise you, Orlando's ready. We have a fan base. We have sponsors. We have a city that's on our side. Excuse me. So we brought him to Orlando. We did a campaign with our supporters, and we said, if you could tell the commissioner one thing about why Orlando needs a major league team, what would it be? And so we took all those messages, and on every billboard from the airport to downtown, there was a message that
No
said,
way.
"Hey Don," because his name's Don Garber, "the city beautiful deserves the beautiful game." He was blown away. Goodness, let me take a quick drink.
Very
His
good.
throat. So he ended up saying, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So we knew then we were on track. We found another big investor, and so 2015 we became a major league team. We played at Camping World, and we filled the stadium with 62,500
Wow.
purple people. It's still, honestly, people ask me about, best days of your life. That was certainly way up there. Standing in the center circle that day and just going, wow, we did it.
Yeah.
We did it.
Yeah.
But again, that is people around you. That is not being afraid to ask for help, to say, I don't know how to do this. Can someone come step up and help us do it? And then getting other people to believe in that dream.
Yeah.
That those first, especially the lead up to that first game in Major League Soccer, it was 24/7. Like, it was madness.
Yeah.
But people came along with it because they believed in the dream as well.
Yeah.
And so they were willing to go that extra mile in that lead up. And I'll be forever grateful. And my two sons were part of that team at the time,
Wow.
working for the club.
Yeah.
So they have that experience too, which, what an incredible
Yes.
thing to go through as a family.
Yeah.
To have that legacy that they built a team.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's such a inspirational story. Like, you could take this story and fit it into any circumstance, because you talked about not giving up, the resiliency you had to have, the delusion you had to have to a certain extent, the things that could have, discouraged you with, hey, I can't even sell out a high school stadium, let alone 5 years from now I expect myself to do 66,500 people in one place. It's mind-blowing how much belief can take you.
Yeah.
And I know for you, you're a strong advocate for women's sports.
Yes.
So shortly after, you got started Orlando Pride.
Yes.
So what was that process like? Like, what was that? I'm excited to hear about this one too.
I know. So that was, so just imagine what that was like, 2015, the craziness, having to build an office out from 10 people to 20 to 40 to however many it is now. It's hundreds.
Yeah.
That was a lot. And it takes a lot out of you. You don't realize. But very early in 2015, the National Women's Soccer League came to us. So they had, the Women's League has been in existence, it's failed. It's been in existence, it's failed. So this was like the third iteration. And they really needed to expand. And so they came to us and said, we think you'd be a great market for a women's team. And we were like, yeah, we would love to, but not right now. And they were like, no, we really need you to have a women's team now. Like, we're in a reasonable spot, but if we want to keep going at the pace we are, if we want to attract more league sponsors, so like Nike had come on board as a league sponsor, we need to show that we're expanding and that we're growing.
Yeah.
And we wavered, and they kept throwing things and saying, well, what if we give you this? And what if we do this? And in the end, they said, what if we give you Alex Morgan? So everyone knew who Alex Morgan was. She was the face of the U.S. women's national team, Bend It Like Beckham, all of the things. And they said, we can make sure she's, on your roster. So in the end, we said, What the heck? Let's do it.
Alex was a no. You should have started with Alex.
I mean, let's do it. So 2016,
Yeah.
we started with Orlando Pride. And so, you know, obviously I'm a huge advocate for women in any profession, but having a women's team was obviously a big dream. Didn't realize it was going to happen quite so quickly. But it's now, in the role I'm in now in the club, it's a huge focus. You know, it's over the years, and God bless the players on the women's national team who fought for equality, who fought for equity in pay, in travel, in all of the in resources. You know, they were traveling at the back of the plane, and you know, they were training in for a lot of the clubs anyway in substandard locker rooms and things. They really fought for it. So you know, they did an incredible job. So to where we are now, to where we are when we started, is you know, light years ahead. We're still not quite there yet, but every year the sponsorship deals get bigger, the TV deals get bigger, more and more people have come in. So we have Michelle Kang, who is a Asian businesswoman who owns Washington Spirit. She owns a team in France. She just gave $4 million to the US Rugby 7 team when they appealed at the Olympics and said, I don't know if we can keep carrying on. And she stepped up. There's a team in California called Angel City that has a laundry list of stars involved with it, including Natalie Portman. You know, there's a lot of people being attracted now to women's sports, and I am here for it.
What do you think is the shift? What was that like? Because it seemed like it's happening all of a sudden.
Yeah, it definitely feels like that. I think there's just been a shift in women stepping into their power finally. Yeah. And I think that started with Me Too. And then I think women finally coming together and saying we have to support each other. And then allies coming on board. And no cause ever in the history of mankind have ever succeeded fully until allies come on board, whether that's the LGBTQ movement, whether it's the civil rights movement. When the allies get involved, things finally start getting better. Yeah. And I think men allies coming on board is huge. Yeah. We're seeing what's happening in the political world right now. And I just think finally women's time is coming. Yeah. And that's reflected in more CEOs in business, and certainly in sport, people paying attention and wanting to get involved.
That's awesome.
It is awesome.
I'm excited for not only to see you guys grow, but also see what other industries and sports teams and companies do with the women's empowerment movement, because if it wasn't for women, a lot of stuff wouldn't be happening.
Sure.
That's just my opinion.
No,
I have a full women's staff, so I understand how powerful.
Who run the world?
I guess girls. No, the reason why I became more of an advocate to support women, although I've always have, but once I had a daughter, it changed my entire perspective on everything. Her world, what I would love for her to, walk out into. Like, I want her to be confident in her skin. I want her to be confident and to go into rooms and being the person that she is made to be, So all I can say is I just see my daughter when I approach anything that has to do with women. So I'm a strong supportive advocate for women's sports, women business, and leadership, wherever the case is. So this will be the last question because I know you're a busy woman. So at the Luminary Panel, we have some audacious goals, similar to you guys, that 5-year span, and it happened all of a sudden. So for us, I have some big goals that I want to develop, and I believe will happen. So, like, for example, we want to do a Netflix series with what we're doing.
Awesome.
We want to travel the country to do what we're doing with our blueprint events, and we want to start an app soon, and a whole bunch of great stuff that is in the works. So for us to attain that, what are some of the advice you would take or give us? Although you haven't really seen much about what we did, I just say, hey, Kate, can you be on a podcast? We'd love to have you. But what would be your advice for us? Because we're still in the role of aspiring to be at a certain level. So as an inspiring entrepreneur, what would you tell the aspiring entrepreneur?
I mean, obviously go for it.
Yeah.
I'm never going to say don't go for it. But again, I think, and I met a girl maybe a year ago who reached out to me on LinkedIn and asked me for coffee. And when I went to talk with her, she said, I set myself this goal of reaching out to women on LinkedIn that I really, really admire and asking to speak with them. And she said, I had a goal of 10 people. And she said, for the most part, people have responded. But she said, when I tell other people I did that, they're like, what? You just cold reached out?
Yeah.
Why not? And I think what you find is more often than not, if you reach out to someone and say, I really am inspired by what you do, can I talk to you?
Yeah.
Can I get some advice from you?
Yeah.
I think 99 times out of 100, people will say yes. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Like, why don't you want to spread what you've learned, you know, the lessons you've learned? Why wouldn't you want someone else to benefit from that?
Yeah.
You're a very mean-spirited person if you don't, just saying.
I agree.
So I think, you know, you're saying be audacious. Think about, and, you know, we're talking about Michael Jordan thing. Go big. Like, think about someone maybe someone you've always wanted to interview, and start asking, does anyone know them? Does anyone have a link to them? Is there a way to get them, you know, to come on a podcast? Ask, you know, lean on people. Don't be afraid to ask, ever. You know, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
And if you can live with that peace, then you should go for it. You know, like I say, I work with Orlando Pride the most. I mean, you know, obviously with the men's team, but mostly with the players, because they're going to start a second career in their 30s. So for me, it's number one, showing them what's even out there. Who knows? Like a sports team, we have probably about 40 different careers within a sports team that is not playing or coaching. We have a finance team. We have a whole slew of graphic designers, videographers, photographers. Somebody has to cut the grass.
Yeah.
You know, someone has to wash the uniforms and make sure they're ready for a game. There are so many jobs. Yeah. And people just don't know what's out there. Yeah. There are new jobs, like all the players wear these GPS tracking systems. They look like a sports bra. And it basically tracks how many miles they run in a game, what their heart rate was, all kinds of information. Guess what? Someone has to read that information and translate it into something that means the physical therapist can say, okay, this player needs to work on their left side. Here's some exercises. Or this person needs this nutrition in their diet. We have a nutritionist. Guess what? Another job. And so, again, part of my role is also encouraging school kids. Because, again, at 14, 15, who knows what they want to do with their life? Yeah. You are lucky if you do. You're so lucky. If you have a calling to do a career. But for most kids, they don't. Yeah. So how do you expose them to jobs that are out there in the world? Yeah. And for the players, I say to them, look, you are eminently employable. A lot of them have degrees already. They're hardworking. They're dedicated.
Yeah.
They understand teamwork. They're resilient. There's so many qualities that they have that employers will want.
Yeah.
So one of the things is, like I say, I put together this Pride Collective of people in Orlando and beyond who are a resource for the players.
Yeah.
Who do you want to talk to?
Yeah.
And make yourself a list of 4 or 5 careers that you might be interested in. Let's start checking them off or crossing them off. If you go and spend an afternoon with someone and then come away and say, I hated that, that's okay. You learn something.
Yeah.
And we can cross that off the list and let's look at the next thing. It's a really fun part of my job. You can probably tell I'm pretty pumped about it. I really enjoy doing it. But what that also translated into was a lot of the people in those collectives buying ticket packages. We had someone who bought a suite for the rest of the season.
Wow.
Or people who have a corporate night and bring their whole teams out to a game. Because obviously at the end of the day, I want more people to come out and see these incredible athletes.
Absolutely.
We have Marta playing on our team, and if you're listening, I encourage you to look her up. She is a 6-time FIFA World Player of the Year. She's Brazilian, which is why she only has one name. They all only have one name, Pele, whatever. But she's 6 times FIFA World Player of the Year. She has scored more goals at the World Cup than anybody, male or female.
What?
So she plays here in Orlando.
Yeah.
She's going to play in the World Cup, in the Olympic final on Saturday. So we have 4 players on the Brazilian team. We have 1 on the US team. So it's a big heart-wrencher for me because it's who do you support?
Yeah.
But whatever, they're coming back. They'll play their first home game on September 1st. And we will have Olympic gold medalists and silver medalists coming back to play here in Orlando.
That is
so
epic.
Come out on September 1st.
Yeah. So we're going to plug that for sure.
Thank you.
We're going to put that in our Instagram.
Thank you.
To make sure that that's a thing for
I'll send
people.
you a ticket link that people can just click on. And
Perfect.
We're doing $7 tickets. So
$7.
No excuses.
Perfect. So what we'll do is right after this, we'll do a promo so we can get that done for you. But Ms. K, I've always been inspired by you and your story, and I cannot thank you enough about how much I appreciate you and what you've done to get to where you are now. Again, you're truly an inspiration, and we appreciate you on the Luminary Panel for being a part of something so epic. But thank you. Where can they find you on social media?
I'm on Twitter, just my name, Kay Rawlins.
Okay.
Not too hard to find. Instagram, I'm Kay Rawlins 46, I think. I kept my Instagram very personal for a while.
Yeah.
Just cause. But I have a ridiculous number of people. I do need to go through them and let some more people in.
Okay.
But I'm on Twitter.
Yeah. Okay.
And LinkedIn.
That's the game changer right there.
Yes.
So, again, thank you guys for watching another incredible episode of the Luminary Panel. Ms. Kay Rawlins, make sure you connect with her on LinkedIn and Twitter. And we look forward to seeing you guys at the next episode.
Thanks for having me.
Peace out.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Luminary Panel. It has been a pleasure to dive into Kay Rawlins' remarkable journey and gain insight from her incredible work in community building and leadership. If you enjoyed today's conversation and want to stay updated on more inspiring interviews and entrepreneurial insights, be sure to follow and subscribe at the Luminary Panel on all of our platforms. We are always sharing the latest episodes and updates to keep you connected with the brightest minds in the industry. We hope to see you soon.